Well, hopefully it says I'm live, but I'm not sure. We'll see in a minute. Fantastic. Yeah, I'm getting all these notifications coming up. So it looks like I am live, ready to go. Now, it looks like I'm in a different environment than I normally am, of course. And yeah, it's interesting to see how this is going to work out. So we'll just wait a little bit for everybody to catch up and see how many people are on there. Thanks, honey. That sounds good. It's good to hear. All I've got on my that sounds good. It's good to hear. All I've got on my oh, there we go. Got more things coming up on YouTube than I know what to do now. And I can see myself on the other screen, which is cool as well. But yeah, it's good. Everybody can see me. It's fantastic. So, g'day so far to Grant, Patricia, Paul, Spartan, Mexico, Deep South, Texas, and Tigabigo, Ralph. G'day to you too. Now, the reason I'm here at the Distance Education Centre Victoria is because my son Benjamin is having his exam. He's doing his English exam at the moment for his last year of high school. So yeah, that's the reason I'm here today. And g'day to Ralph and uh, Sir Boss 2. I think that's how you pronounce it. So we've got one cheese question so far, and that's from Grant. And Grant says, "Hi Gavin, I'd like to try making some flavoured cheese. Do I have to use dry ingredients only?" Um, Let me think. If you're using fresh cheese, then you won't have to. You can use any kind of ingredient, wet, dry, doesn't really matter, because the fresh cheese will only last, 7 to 14 days. However, if you're pressing the ingredient into the cheese, then yes, it's got to be dry because that will be the main source of infection. Um, so cross contamination, things like yeast and molds that you don't really want, you'll get them in those ingredients. So I usually start off with dry ingredients, and then what I do is I will boil them and I boil them for about 15 minutes. Add the water to the milk, and then keep the dry ingredients for milling into the cheese for later on. So that's basically how I do it. You may have seen that in some of the videos that I've done already. Now, Tigger Bigo says, "I can't stay for very long. Just wanted to drop by and say thanks. I ended up making halloumi after everything arrived. It turned out awesome, apart from me oversalting it. Thanks a lot. No problems at all. My pleasure." Adam Carter says, "I want to make a pepper jack cheese. Could I make it with Carolina Reapers?" Yes, you could. But how are you going to eat it? That's the thing. I just on that. Kim and I made chili con carne the other day, which was already quite spicy, and then I put the and then I grated over some of my triple pepper jack, and that added even more spice to it. So very, very hot, but a delicious way to eat that cheese, that's for sure. Got some more questions coming in. Tiger Bigo says again, making it again on the weekend with my friend who is a professional chef. He's going to help me cook it into something really nice. That's fantastic. Brizzy Girl, g'day. How are you? August Brown. Hi, Gavin. I recently made your double brie. After 10 days in the cheese cave, there was decent penicillium growth top and bottom, but none on the sides. Is it too early to wrap? Yeah, see if it starts to develop on the sides, that would be good. If after about 14 days it hasn't grown, uh, yeah, then maybe wrap it and put it into the cheesecake because it will grow on the sides, even at the low temperature of 4 degrees. So try that. Joga Pra Doris. Hello, cheers from Brazil. Can we make simple cheese using milk, vinegar, or lemon? Yes, you can. You certainly can. You can make simple cheese like ricotta or ricotta salata, heavily salted. So that'll work for you. Just go and check out, there should be a link there. Kim may be able to find the link and pop it in. Now, remembering that I'm on mobile devices today, if I miss your question, it's because I can't go backwards on the chat like you can on the desktop. So that may be a bit of an issue because they're starting to come in fast and furious. Sir Boss says, I also salt the halloumi, put it on olive oil for a day. It seems to solve the issue. Cool. G'day to Steve, the curd heart maker. Hello, Steve. AGA, working on a fan video, animated fan video. Very wrap them. I don't know why my phone just went off. It says I dropped off. Don't know. Anyway, bloody live streams. So yeah, so it's all back. That's good. What was the next question? Next question is, what is a cheese cave from the Spartan? Cheese cave is simply just a kitchen fridge or a bar fridge, dorm fridge that has an external thermostat that you can control the temperature. I'll just see if that makes any difference. There, that's a bit better. Yeah, so you can control the temperature, usually keep it around 13 degrees Celsius, so that works well. Usually keep it around 13 degrees Celsius, so that works well. So the next one is Craig said that he finally made goat cheese and it wasn't too goaty. Very cool. I can't read that. Benaya. I had a light bit of mold on my pepper jack after the drying period. I took vinegar and a cloth and wiped it off, then waxed it. Do you think it'll be okay? Yes, I think it'll be fine. Very cool. Steve says he's out of his sling, which is fantastic. Well done, mate. I'm glad to hear you're on recovery, and you're recovering well. Sorry. God, I can't read that either. Myri Wither. How to make cheese where the salt is crystallized. I think you mean there's crystals inside the cheese. That's called calcium lactate, and you get that purely from aging cheeses. Hard cheeses like you can get it in cheddar, Gouda, aged, even in Parmesan, Romano, those sorts of aged cheeses. Divix, I think that is. It says, love the channel. Thanks, mate. Kim's put the link in. Thank you very much. Marianna says, Gavin, I've noticed that you are using wax more than vacuum bagging. Do you have new insights into using them? The only reason I'm using wax is because those specific types of cheeses need to be waxed. So when I make a Gouda, I tend to find it's rather soft. So the problem with vacuum packing, it tends to flatten it because you're excluding all the air and more pressure. So it flattens it a bit too much. So that's a bit of a problem. So with another cheese like Leerdama or Leerdama, so I've been told to pronounce it, it needs to be able to expand because it's going to have eye formation. So the wax needs to be able to expand. However, if it was in a vacuum pack bag, it wouldn't be able to expand. You wouldn't get that eye formation. So that's the reason why. I'm up to Grant. Grant says, I've recently made your farmhouse blue and it looks great. It has been in the cheese cave for 2 weeks now, but it has no smell. I think it says no smell to it. Is that right? Yeah, at the moment. Yeah. I'll wait till it gets a couple more weeks into it. You'll get a little bit of a smell to it. But as long as the blue mold is growing on the outside, that's fine, because if it's growing on the outside, it's going to be growing on the inside. make sure you pierce it for sure, if you haven't already. Pillar says, are there any cheeses you have to vacuum pack, or is it just an alternative to waxing? Yeah, it's just an alternative. It's just the lazy cheesemaker's way of keeping your cheese protected during maturation. So yeah, that works. But for certain cheeses, as I just mentioned before, then have to you have to make sure that you wax them instead of vacuum pack them if you need a bit of movement in the wax. I need to move this down here because I can't read it. That's better. I've got an iPad here. I'm trying to read all your comments off of. Alrighty. So if I start looking down now, that's the reason why. Who are we up to? Amir says, do you believe in making ricotta using sea salt to get a good curd? You can add salt, but I don't think it makes it help set a better curd or anything like that. Timothy says, could you use fresh chilies to put in a queso fresco? Most definitely, because it's a fresh cheese. You won't have any issues with that. It'll be nice and spicy as well. Scott says, can I make a prima donna cheese? Don't have a recipe for that, but I can go and have a look for it. Kim's obviously banning the naughty person, so that's good. Argar says, the Gavin Weber Petite Blue is awesome, tastes amazing. Thanks very much. Yeah, it was a bit of a trial, that cheese, but it turned out well. It looks like lots of people have now repeated how to make that, so really good cheese. Paul says, I made your cheddar blue and had it out for 1 day at room temperature after piercing the holes. Now it's in the cheese cave. It has some white mold as well as the nice blue. Should I pat down the white mold on the edges? Yeah, do that so it doesn't get away. Because what happens if white mold does try and fight and take over from the blue mold, you'll find that underneath the rind it starts to go, it'll go runny, and you don't want that at all. So yeah, pat down any white mold that's growing there. Chris B, g'day Chris, how are you? Good to see you back. I've made my first Colby and debating if I should wax or vac pack. Today I'll finish making my thermostat to go into the cheese cave, so it'll be interesting to the result in the months ahead. For Colby, because it's a very it's fairly moist, and you don't want it getting squished too flat because it's a washed curd cheese. I would recommend waxing the Colby, not vacuum packing it. It's not as hard as some of the harder cheeses, and you don't really want it being misshaped, so wax is probably better. Okay, Dave says, isn't good not, how are you saying it? Isn't Gouda? No, Gouda. That's the way the Dutch pronounce it anyway. So I've been told by many Dutch cheesemakers that Gouda or Gouda is the best way to say it. So that's what I'm doing. Adam says, have you ever made cheese out of any other animal milk? Goat, sheep? Odd extra question, could someone make cheese with breast milk? Yes, in answer to your question, yes, I've made feta from a combination of sheep and goat's milk. I've made pecorino romano out of sheep's milk, 100% sheep's milk. I made halloumi out of a mix of goat and sheep's milk as well. All those videos are on the channel, so you can check those out. And yes, you can make cheese out of breast milk. You just got to get enough of it. There is a boutique cheesemonger in New York, if I remember rightly, I read somewhere a couple of years back that they were making breast milk cheese. Very ordinary. Paul says, the cheddar blue, should I be concerned about the spread of blue mold to other? It's in the same container. It's in the same container you use with the airlock button. Yeah, so did that little airlock button, just have it closed. I don't have it open because, yeah, it does risk contamination with other cheeses if you don't have them wrapped or vacuum packed or waxed. Bart says, I love it. Ask the Cheeseman has gone mobile. G'day from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Still no snow. Oh, that's good. Thanks, Gavin, for making me a fully blown curd nerd. Well, thank you for watching, Bart. Appreciate it. Grant says, did you manage to find a Danish blue recipe? Yes, I do think I have. It's called Castello Blue. That's the recipe I've got. I don't know if that's I know that's a brand name of Danish blue cheese, but I've managed to find Castello Blue. So I am making 2 cheeses this weekend because it's a long weekend here in Melbourne. So yeah, I'm going to give that a go and we'll see what that looks like. So that should be good. Where did I get up to? Spartan Mexican says, how do you control the humidity in the maturation box? Well, with if I wanted about 90% humidity, then what I do, I put a cloth in the bottom, a moist cloth in the bottom of the maturation box, and that keeps the humidity, and that's moist, of course, underneath the mat, and then the cheese sits on top of the mat. So any moisture that the cheese weeps as well goes into that cloth. And what happens then is the humidity is really about 90%. Now, if you take the cloth out, the humidity is about 80%. And I've tested it using a hygrometer, a digital hygrometer, and that's the results that I've got. So that seems to be how it works. And if I've got one of those maturation boxes with a little pop top lid, little dot, you open up and the humidity goes down to about 70%. So that's what the go is. Oops, it's trying to make me cancel the stream. I don't want to do that. Okay. Darlene, hello from Franklinton, Louisiana. G'day, how are you, Darlene? Morgan says, hi, I don't know if you remember, but I told you, I think I've already done that one. Am I too far behind? No, there's all chaos going on outside. I don't know what's going on. People yelling. What's that? Constanza says, hey, I'm saving some money to buy some ingredients and try some of your recipes. Well done, mate. Craig says, can you post what type of airlock container you use to ripen? Yeah, there's a couple we use, and Kim, if you can put up some links to those. I don't have them here, but there's a link to 2 maturation boxes I've got. One's a Mad Millie one that has a total airlock, and you've got to make sure that if you're turning the cheese daily that you wipe it out and and then tip out any CO2 that's built up. So, and then the other one's a Decor microwave food saver, and that's got a little air pop top lid type thing that you can get a bit of circulation with, so that works well as well. Where am I up to? Sale says, what's your favourite beer and cheese pairing? Well, for the stronger cheeses, I like to have a stout or something like that, a porter. For lagers and stuff, white mold cheeses are the best, I find. But also find that cider pairs very well with cheeses that are in the cheddar style of cheeses. Fantastic for cheddar style cheeses is cider. So try that. Speaking of cider, here's a segue for you. We just got some cider kits, and I'll be putting them up on our e-commerce store sometime this afternoon, I think, when I get back after these exams. So they look really interesting as well. So, George says, happy Halloween. Any good holiday cheese? Any cheese is good cheese. Brizzy Girl says, I hope you and Kim enjoy Cup Day next week. Have a punt for me. Thanks, Brizzy Girl, but I don't gamble. Maybe the odd lottery ticket at the Lions Club barbecue or something like that, but or whatever barbecues Bunnings that day, and they run a lottery. That's about it. About as far as I go. Constanzas is from Chile. Hello, how are you? Kim's popping up some links that I can't actually see what's going on. Kim says, show them this. What am I showing? She's sending photos. Kim, I can't do photos, darling, unfortunately. No, I can't do that. Now I'm lost. I can't find my YouTube stream. There we go. Keep playing. Right. Rightio, sorry. Kim's just given me a prompt to show you something, but I can't do it because I don't have the tech to do it mobile. She sent me a photo. I received my Silver Creators Award, or still better known as a Silver Play Button, yesterday. And I'll be breaking out the camera probably this afternoon, and I will be filming our opening ceremony of the Silver Play Button. So finally, and I had to prompt YouTube to actually send it to me, so I could have been waiting there for a month of Sundays, but yep, luckily I just called up their tech support, and that was all cool. All right, where are we up to? Super Minnesota Man says, if you have store-bought block cheese and it's moldy, can you cut off the bad areas and eat it? Depends on what sort of mold it is. If it's black mold, I wouldn't. If it's blue mold, yep, no problems. You go for it. Cut the bad bits off and eat it. Constanza says, what about wine? Are there any pairings you really enjoy? Similar to the beers, you go for the whites for the white mold cheese and the lighter fresh cheeses. The heavier reds like Shiraz and Merlot, mainly for things like blues, anything with a really strong flavour. So that's what I would do there when I do have a glass of wine. Super Minnesota Man, I like Tillamook 2-year aged white cheddar. Yeah, we can't get it here, I don't think, but that's nice to know. Darlene says, love watching your videos. The Tripper Pepplejack looked very spicy. Indeed, it was. It was incredible. Where am I up to? DRT Maverick says, wow, I can actually watch an episode. Just got home from work. Hello, Gavin. How are you? How are you? I'm doing fine at the moment. And Kevin says, hi. Tom says, hello from Louisiana. Kentucky, I think that is. Kentucky? No, Louisville, Kentucky. Been a fan since the Colby video. Gee, that's a while back. And Kim's just said that Gavin is out on location for those who have just joined us. Our son Ben is sitting his English exam. Yes, he is. So that'll be good fun. Lolly Lichen says, well, where do you live? I'm from Germany, and it's the middle of the night and totally dark here. Well, I live in Australia, so this is coming from, I'm mobile at the moment. I'm not actually driving, but I'm in my car, and we're in Australia. There you go. Yes, Kevin, thank you for answering that. It took me ages to get around to it, so yeah. Misha says, hello, everybody. Hello, Misha. Annie, for the first time I've had the chance to catch you live. Love your work. Thank you very much. And Paul, congrats on the award. I also got my Curd Nerd shirt you designed. Very cool. People love it. Excellent, Paul. That is really good. Now, don't forget that I've got a whole, in fact, I've been very busy in the merch store lately. There probably isn't a link, but if Kim can bring up a link to the new merch store, I've got, I think it's nearly 8 designs now. That certified Curd Nerd included. So there's t-shirts like Blessed are the cheesemakers. Make cheese, not war. Keep calm and make cheese. There's actually some illustrations that Kim did for my first book. So that's cool as well. And there's Little Miss Muffet eating some curds and whey. And there's a mouse that kind of looks like me, that looks very, very cheesy. So, yeah, so that's cool. Kevin says, oh no, hang on. Where did I get up to? Misha says, I love your channel. I'm here in Texas. G'day, Misha. Kevin says, Gavin, why do you make cheese videos? Because they're fun. That's why I enjoy doing it. And because I saw that there was a need for something around cheese education. I knew there were a lot of people out there like myself that wanted to make cheese, and there just wasn't any resources, video resources anyway. So I thought I would do that, and from that day 8 years ago when I made my first cheese making video to here, and I've been fairly consistent ever since. So that's one of the reasons I do it. I love it. And thanks, Kim, for putting that link to the merch store up. Now, Patricia says, what is the next cheese you have ready for tasting? The next cheese I have ready for tasting is Pecorino Romano, and then followed by Limburger, which I haven't released the video to make yet because I'm a bit dubious. I had a look at the cheese last night and it doesn't look like it's doing too well, so I may have to remake it. I don't know. We'll see. But I'll show everybody the failure as well, and tell people where I went wrong. Joy says, I made blue cheese recipe and it started turning blue and I pierced it. The blue stopped, so I put a wet paper towel in the ripening box. Do you think the blue will start to grow again? The blues probably is still growing, Joy. It just takes time. So that's why a lot of those cheeses have the odd month or so. So that's pretty cool. Grant says, I have a couple of spots of mold on my vacuum packed cheddar. I wipe them off with white vinegar. Is this correct, or should I use a brine solution? It's a combination of both, Grant. So what I normally do, make a simple brine solution, then add a tablespoon of white vinegar to that. I usually make it in a cup. So I make a cup or 250 milliliters of simple brine solution when I'm washing down cheeses and stuff. And if I find the mold's very stubborn, then I'll add that vinegar in, and that prevents it from coming back. That's if you've got a cheese that you don't want mold to grow on. So if you've got a cheese like a blue cheese, or you've got a red mold cheese like Limburger or Brick or something like that, that you want the bacteria to spread on the outside, then don't use vinegar because it'll kill it off in its tracks. Super Minnesota man, Kevin. Oh, he's talking to Kevin because everybody loves cheese. That's true. Chris says, my son is doing his English VCE today. Good luck to our kids. Thanks for the channel. I will have more questions next time. That's fine, Chris. Appreciate it. Spartan says, a lot of equipment is out of stock on your website. Do you know when you're going to restock it? Yeah, I put a lot of equipment back in stock last night, my time. And we've got another shipment coming in on Friday. So there'll be a fair bit of stuff that'll be back in stock there. Marson says, Gavin, do you think it's a good idea to wrap camembert in regular tin foil instead of paper? No, I don't think it's a good idea because it doesn't allow the cheese to breathe. Now, there is a type of a camembert wrap that actually has silver foil, but it's got paper on the other side and it's got micro perforations so that the ammonia can escape when the cheese is developing. So just be careful you don't mix those two up. In fact, I've got silver paper in stock in our store. it's the same stuff as the Camembert stuff, except it's silver on one side. I don't know the reason for the silver. I just know that it works. Marston said, no, that's the question I just read. Kevin says, Super Minnesota, I asked because I'm a cheesemaker. Oh, there you go. That's why. Agar says, will it be okay to use images and sounds from your videos for my fan film project? Yes, that would be fine as long as it's not, as long as you don't monetize the video or the fan film. That's perfectly okay. I'm comfortable giving you permission to do that. However, if it's monetized and somebody else is making income from my work, then no, I don't approve it. Chris says, regards from the UK, London, UK. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Chris. And Pillar says, when do you add mesophilic starter culture? Do you always use the same one, or are there different ones from MO30? Yeah, there are different ones that have different strains of bacteria. I actually have another one in stock that I've been meaning to use, which is by Danisco. It's a Choose It brand, and it's called MA4000. It actually has stronger ripening flavors, mainly used for cheddar style cheeses. So I'm going to bust that one out soon and see if that makes a difference in taste to, say, a cheddar cheese or something like that. But yeah, there are different types of mesophilic starter cultures. Some have more than just the two normal ones, which are subspecies Chromoris and subspecies Lactis. So yeah, there are different ones. If that's the answer. Or I'm up to. And he says, Kevin, I'm Gavin. What do you think about making Camembert with 50% goat, 50% cows? I did and hope it will turn out okay. The centre seems softer and more fragile than usual after draining. Yeah, goat's curd is a little bit more fragile. That's perfectly natural. And I think it should work out. So, yeah, I don't think it will be a problem. Spartan Mexican says, how long can you age provolone? So there's two types of provolone. So there's a provolone dulce, I think that's how you pronounce it, which is between 2 and 4 months. And then your provolone picante, which is your stronger aged, so anything between 4 months to a year. And they're very strong cheeses and delicious. I do prefer the picante style provolone, which has been aged, has a really sharp flavour, very nice, very similar to a well-aged Parmesan. So yeah, very nice. I'm running out of questions. No, Kevin says, Annie, why not give Annie? I don't know. Why not give? Please tell me what it's like. Don't forget, the ripening is different than just cow's milk. Yeah, the flavour will be different too. Okay. Fabian says, hello, I came from Germany and you. I come from Germany and you. I come from Australia. Thank you. Tim says, greetings from North Carolina. Your videos are great. Is it okay to make whey ricotta from mold cheese whey? Yeah, it is. There's no issue. Because remember, what you're doing is when you make whey ricotta, you're boiling, well, you're bringing the whey up to a really high temperature. It's going to kill off all the molds anyway, so you won't have an issue. You may see some mold on the cheese after about 7 days, but by then you should have used the ricotta anyway. DRT Maverick says, should the brine I wash my rind with be the same percentage as the brine I let my cheese soak in for 12 hours? No, it doesn't have to be. It usually it's about a 10% solution. So what I do, I make up 250 milliliters of water or 1 cup of water. I add in 2 teaspoons or what's that, 10 milliliters in volume of salt, 2 teaspoons, and then I mix that up, and yeah, it's exactly it's nearly 10% brine solution. If you wash it with a fully saturated brine solution, you'll find that salt crystals become present and you get a white coating, which is basically salt on the outside of your cheese. So not that good. DRT says it's starting to turn orange. What's starting to turn orange? I can't read. I can't go back in the chat. Sorry. Spartan says, what can you do with all that whey? Well, you can make a little bit of ricotta, but you won't get too much out of some of them. If you can use whey for feeding animals, you can also use whey instead of any liquid for cooking. Soups, great in soups. You can use whey for smoothies. You can use whey for feeding tomatoes. Any acid-loving plant absolutely loves whey. I always throw it onto my tomato plants in the summer when they're growing, and they just grow like there's no tomorrow. It's really good. And you can drink it yourself. It's full of protein, so it's really good for you. In fact, or you could make a cheese called mysost, which is Norwegian brown cheese. And what you do is you take about 8 litres of whey and you boil that and reduce it down over a period of about 3 or 4 hours, and you start getting the lactose and the whey protein down the bottom after all the water's evaporated. So, and you add a bit of, what do they normally add to it? Not sugar, because it's fairly sweet. They add a little bit of cream to it, I think, and that really does taste amazing. So I have made that. There is a video somewhere for my sauce, so pretty cool. Okay. Greg says, enjoying the new car smell, or are the cheese police after you? No, just my son's doing an exam, so I'm in the car waiting for him to finish. Felicia says, hi Gavin, how to preserve bocconcini that I want to sell? What brine do I need to use? I'd make a 10% saturation brine. Thanks, Kim, for that link. Yeah, 10% saturation, same as what you would for, say, feta. Otherwise, you would find, and make sure it's a balanced pH. It should be, the pH of the brine should be about, if I can remember rightly, it's about 5.0, so fairly acidic. Because what happens if you don't, the cheese goes all slimy and due to an ion exchange with the calcium. So make sure the pH is about 5. Neil says, hi Gavin, Neil from New Zealand. I've tried to make Havarti twice, but both times did not turn out well. All other cheeses turn out great. I'll send you a photo. Yeah, please do, Neil. I'll have a look at that offline. Paul says, I have a Parmesan, Emmental, Swiss, and a Tom in the cave for 1 month. They're getting some light mold. Should I vacuum pack them at this point? Yeah, I would. The Swiss, I don't know if it's gone through its eye formation yet. Did you have it out on the at room temperature for a while? If you've done that already, the Swiss I would probably I would wax. I wouldn't vacuum pack it, but all the other ones, no problems at all. Thanks for the link again, Kim. Oh no, I've already said that. Felicia, how can you count the maximal age of cheese? How can you determine? You can't really, unless you're a cheese maker and you've checked it, and you are the one that actually make the cheese and all that stuff. Then you wouldn't be able to figure out. You can figure out some cheeses by taste. So if it's like cheddar, for instance, if it's really mild, then it's probably 2 to 3 months old. If it starts to have a bit of a tang to it, then it's at least 6 months old. If it's really sharp and crumbly, then it's usually about a year old. if not more, sometimes up to 2 years. But for other cheeses, very different, very difficult to tell. Um, where are we up to? I'm up to. George says, I grew up on Norwegian goat cheese. It has a very strong flavour, but I can't seem to find it anywhere. Do you have cheese recipes for a strong flavoured goat cheese? The strongest flavoured goat cheese I've made is feta, basically. I don't know if that compares with Norwegian goat cheese, so I couldn't tell you. Um, so, no, not sure. I'd have to hunt around. If you could find one and send it to me, that would be great. And if anybody's got any cheese making recipes, happy to receive them. Just go to the About tab of the channel, and there's an email contact. So just shoot me an email, and I'm happy to take any recipes and check them out and have a look. How long have I been going for? What's it say? 40 minutes I've been going for. It's fantastic. Felicia says, when I tried to shake my mozzarella, it leaks fat and my hands were oily. How to avoid the curd to leak fat? Oh, no, good question. I haven't experienced that really. I've never had oily hands when I made mozzarella. Usually been very briny. And at that stage, when I'm shaping it, it's so hot, it's not leaking anything. It's just stretching all over the place. So it sounds like there might be a bit of a pH issue there. Hopefully you tested it before you started with either a stretch test or checked whether the pH was between 5.3 and 5 pH acidity before you stretched your curd. Any other time it won't stretch properly and may leak fat. Spartan Mexico says, can I make Munster cheese in feta baskets? Yes, you can. Paul says his Emmentaler's got eyes. Fantastic. So, yeah, you could probably backpack it then. But I would prefer, if I was making Emmentaler, I would wax it. That's just my personal preference. Felicia says, once I keep provolone in the freezer, can I still age it? No, because all the bacteria go dormant, unfortunately. It needs to be aged. I think it's about 16 degrees Celsius for provolone, if I remember rightly. Dwayne says, hello there. Hello, Dwayne. Charles says, any way to replicate store-bought string mozzarella that's individually packaged per serving? Trying to figure out something for the kiddos' lunches. Charles, try my Oaxaca recipe. Spelled Oaxaca, Oaxaca, of course. It is, you can pull off bits of the string off the ball, and it is very stringy, just like stringy cheese for the kids. So I know my son, even though he's not a kid anymore, he's 19, he demolished 2 of those Oaxaca balls in no time. I think within 2 days he'd chowed down through 2 of them. So that was interesting. Very nice cheese. George says, Gavin, it is hard and dark yellow with a sweet pungent flavour. Best thing I ever put on a cracker. Talking about the Norwegian goat cheese. It seems interesting. I'll have to have a look. Josh says, hi Gavin, have you ever considered making cheddar with shavings of truffles in it? I had some and it was really good. Yeah, look, I have heard that. And truffles are very expensive, but you could put it into the cheese when you mill the cheese. So when you're, just before you press the cheese, that would be the best time to do that. And I think there's a joke from Dwayne. What kind of cheese do ghosts and goblins like to eat? Munster cheese. Oh, my Lord. That's fabulous. Very cool. Or scream cheese. Yeah, nice. Thunder One Soldier. Morning, Gav. G'day, mate. How are you? Walk Says, what is the best way to clean a cheesecloth? Good question. So what I normally do after I finish my cheese making session, I try to, just under the normal kitchen tap, try to get any bits of cheese off if there's some stuck into the cheesecloth. But then what I'll do is I'll then put it into a normal washing machine. We have a front loading washing machine. I don't put any powder in the machine. I just put vinegar in the final rinse, and I'll set it on the economy setting, so it's about 30 minutes, and then put it on a cold wash. So then when they come out, I just hang them up straight away, and then once they're dry, I just fold them up and then put them in a Ziploc bag for next time. So that's how I clean my cheesecloths. I've been using the same cheesecloth at the moment, I think, for the whole of 2018. So they do go a long way. You'll get about a year's use out of them until they start getting holes in them, of course. And then you can use them for cloth banding cheddars. There you go. Charles is off to bed. Good night, Charles. Yes, teenagers do have a big appetite. They do. DRT Maverick said, I would love to learn how to make truffle cheese. Here in Oregon, we have wild truffles, and I'm training my dog to hunt them. Well, that'd be very cool. Bilby says, have you ever shown your cheese cave? Yes, I have. A few times now. I made a video on how I set up the external thermostat. I also made a video on what's in my cheese cave. It was about a year ago, though. So that was interesting. See, there are a few. Bilby also says, also love the show. Thank you very much for the education experience. No problems at all. Dwayne says, I had truffle cheese in an Italian supermarket. It was so good. I can imagine it was absolutely amazing. Luvisa says, hello, Gavin. Are you planning on making Scandinavian cheese such as Samso, Grieve, and, oh, can't pronounce that, Nokkolost? I don't know how to pronounce the O with the line through it. Sorry. Yeah, if I can find some recipes, I'm always on the hunt for recipes. If anybody has any, then yeah, give it a go. Shoot them through. Use the About tab. That would be absolutely amazing. Josh said, let's talk about truffle cheese. It's pretty expensive. You might only have to use half a truffle for the whole cheese. There was a, yeah. Okay, Spartan says, how can I sanitize my ladle and stirring spoon if they are plastic, or do they have to be metal? Does it affect the cheese? Yeah, it's better if they're stainless steel. If they're plastic, plastic gets scratches in them, deep scratches, and harbour bacteria. So it is absolutely the best if you use stainless steel for cheese making, not plastic. However, if you can't afford stainless steel utensils and plastic is absolutely, you have to use it, then I would sanitize it by spraying it with vinegar or use a brine solution, not a brine solution, a bleach solution. So 20 milliliters of bleach to 2 liters of water. So, and then just dunk that in there, leave that for about 10 minutes, and then take it out and rinse it off. Okay. Agar says, cheers, Gavin, my channel is tiny, has zero monetization. No probs. Guapo says, new subscriber, love your videos. I'm about to try and make my own pepper jack. Thanks to you. Well, watch out, she's a hot one. Felicia says, how long can I keep bocconcini in brine? Because my customers need to know it. I would say a maximum of 2 weeks. That would be the use by date I'd put on it. Or go to the supermarket, have a look at some bocconcini in brine and see how long they have use by dates for. That's one way to do it. Constanza says, never try it with truffles, though we do have cheese with olives, merkin, oregano, and other things. Very cool. And Asab says, what's the most delicious cheese in your opinion? All the cheeses. are delicious. All of them. Um, Tim says, what size mold did I use for my layer dummer? I used the 165mm mold. I shot you a link this morning, Tim, on another comment you had. So 165mm mold, one of my favourites for about 10 litres of milk. Even though it was about 14, it turned out quite rather large, but yeah, it's pretty good. George says the Norwegian phenomenon of brown cheese. Yes, it is quite delicious. Constanza's going to bed. Good night. See you later. Agar says, I just want to do a video with you in it as you and your channel, the sole reason I discovered real cheese. It was a surprise to say the least. No problems at all. I'm happy to assist. Ashhab says, any favourites? I particularly do like washed rind cheeses lately. They float my boat, and so do blue mold cheeses. I really do like those as well. Anything with a really strong flavour or a strong smell seems to tickle my taste buds lately, so that's pretty cool. Bilby says dry style cottage cheese pressed with flavouring, seasoning and oil. Well, that might work. Josh says also it might be a good beginner cheese if I don't have a press or a mould. Yeah, it could be. What else? Felicia says, what happened if I put in too much culture? Not a lot really. You get a little bit more acidity in the cheese. That's the only thing, and you may find your cheese tends to ripen faster, so it may mature a month faster than what it normally would. Nice truck. And Guapo says, what cheese do you recommend for beginners? Try, well, if you really want to know, and Kim's still there somewhere, then go to courses.littlegreenworkshops.com.au and you'll see my Curd Nerd Academy Beginners Cheese course. And you'll see, even if you don't purchase the course, have a look at the course list and you'll see all the cheeses in order that I recommend for a beginner. So, yep, Kim can, or quick mozzarella is always a good one as well. DRT says, can I use the rind of a washed rind cheese, such as Saint Nectaire, to obtain my bee linens? Yeah, that might work. You could give it a go. Thanks, Ashab, for your super chat. I appreciate it. I haven't even mentioned it during the show. Maybe I should have. But got any recommendations for brands of blue mold cheese? Well, seeing the brands here down under are a little bit different than other brands. It may be difficult to give you any recommendations, but certainly try Stilton. That's an amazing blue cheese. Roquefort, it is the father of all blue cheeses. Try that. It's a sheep's milk cheese. If you can get the original stuff from France, even better. So there's a couple that should help you out. Why is my cheese sinking towards the middle? Not sure. I haven't seen that before. Can I age mozzarella? If you do, it's then usually called scamorza, or what's another age one? Or provolone, or yeah, you can age it. It just turns, it's like provolone, same sort of recipe. Russell says, how do I fix the cracks that develop? You vacuum pack them very quickly and hope they don't get infected. Usually any cracks on the surface appear because either the cheese wasn't pressed hard enough or it's too dry. Dang it, Bobby says, I just wanted to say hi, like watching your videos a lot, mouth drooling at the spicy pepper cheese you recently made. Thanks, dang it, Bobby. Kim's giving me the wrap up. I think, oh, I am too. I'm nearly there. Derek says, saw your culture butter making today. Does the culture extend the shelf life similar to salt? If so, how long? No, it doesn't. It'll just last the same amount of time as normal butter does. It just gives it extra flavour. So Kim's just shooting links. So don't forget the merch store. I've got a Teespring there. You can support us via Patreon, of course, or via YouTube memberships. There should be a join button under the video somewhere when it goes live, normal live. So that's pretty cool. Don't forget that you can visit our shop for any cheese making supplies, equipment and kits. And then we ship internationally, we ship worldwide, except for a few countries that we can't, that they keep confiscating our stuff from. So yeah, go and check that out, littlegreenworkshops.com.au. And just a couple of last questions. Ethan says, what kind of cloth do I use to wipe the cheese? When I'm wiping cheese, you can use any, you can use tight weave cheesecloth, that works well. I use Chuck's wipes, which seems to work as well. Don't forget, you got a couple of minutes if anybody wants to throw some money my way, like Asha did. That would be fantastic. Don't forget the little super chat button down the bottom. One last question, and it's from Josh. How do you keep cheese in one fridge at various different temperatures? Do you run a lot of cheese at once that will be the same temperature? The answer is yes, it's all experimentation. I do have one area in the cheese fridge that's very, it's a little bit cooler than everywhere else. So at the top it seems to be cooler than the bottom, which seems weird, but that's just what my thermometer's telling me, and I gauge which cheese needs to go on what shelf. That's basically how I do it. Anyway, that's all we got time for this week. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming along. Obviously, without you guys and girls, there wouldn't be a show. And yeah, sorry for the mobile today, but that's just the way I had to roll. And yeah, next week we'll be back, I think. I'm not sure. I have to look at my calendar. Next week, hopefully, I will be at my desktop again and be able to show you pictures and all sorts of stuff. And by that time, you would get to see the unveiling of the silver play button. That would be nice too. Anyway, thanks for watching, Curd Nerds, and I'll see you next time. Bye.